Alright, as you can see, I have a couple of firearms laid out here. These are all 22 long rifle guns, and I've been talking to people about 22s because that's what I've been shooting the most lately in my videos, just because that's what I like to shoot normally. And I got some questions about which one people should be looking for, so I decided to do a video on it. Now, there's plenty of good options for new production 22s. The CZs are excellent, but you're going to be paying upwards of $350 all the way up to $600 for a quality 22. The cheaper 22s that are out there now, I don't particularly care for. And for the same money, you can get a very nice older 22. When you go to a gun show, just bring a bore light. Find the first bolt action 22 that you can find. Older bolt action 22. Check the bore. And you should have a very nice gun. I mean, these older guns are made very, very well. A couple of problems with a couple of these I'll show you today, but we'll go through that. Just to give us a baseline for accuracy, I'm going to start out with the 46M. This rifle is tube fed, so loading it isn't as easy as the magazine fed rifles, but it can hold quite a few rounds, up to 10 I believe in this rifle. And you don't have a magazine sticking out below, and honestly with most situations with a 22 you only have one magazine anyways, which is going to take you time to load, and it's just really not a big disadvantage to have a tube magazine. So don't let that discourage you. I mean, you're shooting a 22, you're shooting to improve your skills, you're not in any sort of tactical situation. And like I said, most of these guns only come with one magazine, so there's not really much of a need for anything else. One thing I like about this gun is very smooth action. Not to mention this peep sight is dead on. I've seen these rifles go for $250 up to $350, so look around. Pretty much any of the old Mossbergs are good. Mossberg did not make a bad 22 back in the day. Okay, from 50 yards away, that's what we're getting with the 46M, just as a baseline. That's the most accurate rifle I've brought today. So just for a baseline, we'll see how the other rifles compare. Next up is the H&R Sportster Model 250. Now, I told you the price for the 46M, which is a little higher than these guns. The next two guns I'm going to be showing you can be had for $120 or less. I've seen them go for $75, or rifles like them, used of course, but in good condition. Now this is more of what you're going to start out with in shooting. I've always recommended getting a 22, even a single shot 22 to learn on. It allows you to go through all the motions, learn sight picture, learn proper technique without breaking the bank, and without getting something that might scare a new shooter. Even if you're 50 years old and you want to learn to shoot, you should probably get a 22 first. Of course, you can do it with other things. You can do it with an AR-15 if you want to. I'm just saying, if someone asks me, I recommend getting a 22. Now, this particular rifle does have some problems, and as I said, these guns can be picked up for, you know, $120 or less, so you can't expect the world. But most of the time, what's wrong with them can easily be fixed, or you can modify them to fix it. If it's got a bad sight on it, add a Lyman sight. Most of these are going to have a very nice barrel on them, and that's really all that matters, is that the barrel is nice, because the trigger on this one is absolutely terrible. In my last video of this one, people thought I was jerking the trigger, but this one has a trigger pull that's so hard that you actually think the safety is on. and then after it actually releases, your finger jerks back because of all the pressure you've got to put on it. But I've already had this rifle apart, and all you need is a file to modify it. I may show it later in the video, I don't know, but all you would need is maybe 5 minutes in a file to modify this, and it would be perfectly fine. I haven't done that for this video because I wanted to show you what kind of accuracy you're going to get out of it right off of the bench from the gun show or wherever you get it. So it's got a 10-round magazine. As I've said before, you may or may not like the magazine, you may want tube fed, but it really doesn't matter for these rifles. This rifle also has a very nice action on it, very smooth. I do like that. But the trigger is definitely a disadvantage. Alright, as you can see, not a bad grouping. Pulled one way to the left, but not too shabby for 50 yards once again. Alright, this next rifle I have for you is a Winchester Model 67A. This rifle is about as simple as you can get it without it being maybe a rolling block, maybe a falling block might be simpler. But it's a single shot rifle. I've seen these rifles go for as little as $50, somewhere between $50 to $100 for used ones. Even the newer ones that they're producing nowadays don't really go more than, you know, 150 bucks. It's as simple as it can get. It's a good rifle for a kid because it forces them to take it slow without firing off a whole lot of rounds just randomly. It's a good rifle for an adult too if you just want to go out to the range and plink. I mean, when you're doing that, you don't really need to fire rounds in quick succession, and if you just want a very cheap rifle that you can take to the range and squirrel hunt with, you shouldn't look over these. Now, as I said, this rifle is as simple as it gets. It's single shot, but don't think that they're skimping on quality here. The sights are good, the barrel, the bore is good. It's just that the action is very simple, very stripped down. You have to load each one manually. Close the bolt, but that does not cock the rifle. You've got to pull this back. There's a very simple flip-up sight on it that disengages the trigger. Flip it down, it's ready to go. Now with this rifle, the trigger is also terrible for the opposite reason of the last one. This one is too loose. Now that can be tightened up. I've had this rifle apart. I just haven't gotten around to doing it because honestly, it doesn't affect me too much. Once you get used to it, you can fire the rifle just fine. But if I was going to have this thing out every day, or not every day, every time I go to the range or something like that, I would fix the trigger. But like I said, most of the problems with these rifles can be fixed fairly easily. Not as accurate with that rifle, but keep in mind you're still within, you know, 2.5-inch group there at 50 yards with a 22. So not bad for a rifle you can find for 50 bucks. I mean, it's pretty good value, and at 50 yards, that's still squirrel accuracy. Squirrel, rabbit, whatever you're hunting, or a pop can. So not bad for a very cheap rifle that's inexpensive to shoot. So keep that in mind if you're on the lookout for one of those guns. Alright, the wind is still not cooperating, but we're going to shoot the Model 74 Savage Arms again. There's a pattern, not bad. I mean, for a tiny little rifle. Could be better. Alright, now we've got the good old Ruger 1022. Practically everyone and his brother has one of these. You can find them in many different styles. Pretty wide price range on what you're looking for, really. But you can find them pretty much anywhere. if you're looking to step your kid up to a semi-automatic rifle, or you're looking to step up and you want something to train for cheap, this is a great option. As I've said before, I'm not a huge fan of semi-automatic 22s. That's a personal thing. I just don't personally have a need for them. But they are fun rifles to shoot. Find many different magazines for them as well. And they're fairly accurate, as I'll show you. And you can see it's pretty accurate. I'd ignore these over here because the wind has picked up pretty badly, but most of my shots landed right here. But as I was shooting, the wind picked up a little bit, so that's more than likely what those are about. And that one I probably pulled because it's so far off. But the Ruger 1022 is very accurate. It got about the same accuracy as the single shot. The sights on it are not awesome for longer range, but if you ignore these ones, about a 2-inch group. Definitely not as good as the 46M or my Ranger 22, but not bad. Those both are more target rifles, so you have to take in mind that you're comparing apples and oranges there, but not bad on the Ruger 1022. And now for something completely different.